Bo Bichette felt some discomfort in his knee rounding first base in tonight's game between the Jays and the Orioles. He was forced to leave. We do not know the severity of the injury itself, but it's only 24 hours before the deadline tomorrow, and the Jays need to target a shortstop because they cannot let Santiago Espinal play day in, day out. So I'll break down some potential replacements and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse, and this is not the type of video that we wanted to bring to you guys right now. We still don't know the severity of the Bo Bichette injury, but he felt some discomfort in his knee and was forced to leave the game tonight between the Jays and the Orioles. Off to a pretty rough start in this four-game series against one of our division rivals and against the AL East leader in Baltimore. Not a great start for the Jays, but hopefully it's nothing too serious for Bo.
Yeah, this was about the worst case scenario coming into this game. The Orioles, huge series, biggest series of the year, very highly anticipated game with the trade deadline tomorrow. It's always a fun time to, watch the Jays and watch any team the day before deadline. And then the worst thing possible could have happened. Bo Bichette got hurt. In case you missed it, Bo Bichette pointed to his right knee after rounding first base, now out of the game. We'll update once we know more. Santiago Espinal replaces him at shortstop. If you guys missed the injury, I'm not going to show it here. Nothing too crazy, but you go into Jay's Twitter and it's on there. We got this. Get this video out as soon as possible, Peter. What are your initial thoughts on the injury before we delve into a couple of replacements? And again, we don't know the severity of the injury. It could be maybe, a 10-day IL. Could be way worse than that. It could be way better. We'll have an update later, either tonight or tomorrow. But initial thoughts, Peter. This changes everything for the Blue Jays, not only going forward, but for the next 24 hours for Ross Atkins. If this injury is even if it's a 15-day IL, this changes a ton because these are
Right.
huge 15 games ahead.
Yeah, there's huge games coming up, but the one thing about Bo Bichette, which is a silver lining that we could take out of this, is that he usually plays through a lot of nagging injuries, and he's not the type to get out of the lineup for too long. So if he can walk, if he can swing the bat tomorrow, I guarantee he's gonna be knocking on John Schneider's door and asking him to play the next day. So I don't think it'll be serious because he was able to walk off on his own power. He was walking with a considerable limp. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose it for you guys, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. But even if he does have to miss a week and if he does avoid going on the 10-day IL, on the 15-day IL, that's still a significant amount of time at this juncture in the season. So you got to look for replacements pretty quickly if you know he's going to miss at least a few games. And some names that we have been spitballing in videos past have been Tim Anderson. There are a couple of names that are eluding me right now, but Tim Anderson is the big one, and the fire sale has begun in Chicago for the White Sox. So it wouldn't shock me if a deal is made before midnight tonight, really.
Yeah, so it completely depends on, again, the severity of an injury. And it's kind of a weird spot in the sense of horrible time for Bo Bichette to get injured, just from a schedule point of view. But it's good in the sense of, the silver lining here can be the Jays can make a replacement. If it was after the deadline, it'd be, interesting. We have a few guys in the minor leagues that could potentially replace him. But let's touch on a couple of targets, and let's start with Tim Anderson. He's been a perennial all-star. He is unfortunately having a very poor year, but he started to heat up as of late. He's not the best defender, unfortunately. But Peter, if I'm Ross Atkins, I'm getting on the phone. As soon as I figure out the diagnosis, which they'll know very, very soon. I'm getting on the phone. I'm making a call for Tim Anderson, and who knows what it'll take to get him, but I don't think the Jays have much time to waste. It is clearly a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market, whatsoever. Tons of deals that went down. Candelario was traded today. AJ Pollock was traded today. The options are running out, and if you're Ross Atkins, even like you said, if this is a short IL stand, anything less than, a few days out of the lineup, you need to get a guy like Tim Anderson, and he could be a good guy either way to have down the stretch because he can mash lefties to a degree, but what a disaster potential scenario here for the Blue Jays. But it's going to make tomorrow a little bit more crazy.
Yeah, Tim Anderson's also got a club option for next season as well, which is another reason to go after him if you are the Jays. And he is a better option than what you have right now internally, whether it be Espinal or Biggio up the middle. So I would definitely take a flyer on him, especially if it's a moderate to serious injury for Bo Bichette. You can't wait. You have no time. And I'm sure Ross Atkins was on the phone the minute that Bo started grabbing his knee rounding first base. It wouldn't have shocked me. But now the Jays are in a desperate position, and that's why You got to have depth before the season starts. You can't wait until the trade deadline. You can't wait till you're 100 games into the season to address your thin depth in the middle infield. You know, you got to have guys that are ready to step in and play at any moment in time. Espinal and Biggio have just not been those guys this season. Luckily, Bo Bichette has been healthy for the better part of 3, 4 years now, so you didn't need them. But if he does have to miss a few games here, knock on wood, you're going to need someone to replace him in a pinch. And those guys, I have no confidence in to replace not even a fifth of the production that Bo Bichette has offensively, and even defensively. They haven't been stellar this year either. So we talk about Bo's shortcomings on the defensive end. I think I don't think the drop off would be too significant with those guys either. So it's in a really tough spot for the Jays right now.
And it kind of is all level in the fact that Santiago Espinal has been nothing short of disappointing this year. Davis Schneider is a guy on in the minors who is absolutely mashing. Maybe he gets the call, or more likely, maybe he gets involved in a trade to get someone like Tommy Pham. And another interesting guy here is, sorry, not Tommy Pham, Tim Anderson, is Tommy Edmond of the St. Louis Cardinals, who are seemingly going, through a fire sale. Peter, Tommy Edmond's been, he's a solid guy. He'd be someone who would just provide some more consistency from the defensive end, the offensive end, than a guy like Santiago Espinal or Kevin Biggio have been doing. And what do you, any thoughts on Tommy Edmond? Again, a lot of this depends on the severity of the injury, but having guys who mashes lefties can't really hurt you anyways. And if I'm Ross Atkins, you got to, go for one of these guys, especially because who knows if this injury will linger, even if he does decide to play through it. You never really know, and we need more depth regardless if you want to make a World Series run.
Yeah, Tommy Edmond is a bit more of a curious case than Tim Anderson because he's got years left of control. He's a defensive wizard at shortstop. So if the Jays went out and acquired him, or if any team went out and acquired Tommy Edmond for that matter, he would be their everyday shortstop for years to come. He's that good with the glove. Of course, he leaves a little bit to be desired with the bat, but he's a switch hitter. He could play multiple positions. He would cost a lot. As I know the Jays have been pretty good friends with the Cardinals at this deadline this year, but I don't know if they would be so willing to give up Tommy Edmond because they still have Nolan Arenado. They still have some pieces to make a run for next season, so I don't think he's available for trade. It's obviously it would be a great fit. It would be a great name to have on your roster, but I just can't see it happening.
I think this is more of if the injury is very serious, the Jays kind of go all in. Because, it seems like the Cardinals are open to trade. Again, Tommy Edmond's name, I don't know if it's been thrown around, but again, it seems like someone the Cardinals would want to keep. But if he does end up being remotely available and Bo's injury is serious whatsoever, Tommy Edmond's a guy that you kind of, would love to have on your team. And is a guy, like you said, it could be a cornerstone shortstop, especially simply because of his glove. He provides tons of upside. But it's going to be very, very scary. We have to, hold our chairs for the next few hours, and especially the next 24 hours. The trade deadline is fast approaching, and I suspect tomorrow is going to be a very, very crazy time for the Blue Jays. They know you're going to get another right-handed hitter, and now we suspect we're going to get another infielder if this injury is anything, short of not serious at all. But that'll wrap up the video. We'll keep you guys updated with the latest news on Bo Bichette's injury. Thank you guys for your support, and hopefully the Jays get lucky this time.